what we do out there in the field, with the goal of better customer retention and how we can be better salespeople.
Awesome. Very good stats for us, Florence. Anyone else? We want to see more people actually, so that we can assume like this is a physical training as much as it's online. We want to see more of you. Victoria, I see your mic is unmuted. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Very fine. Can we see you?
I'm on the road.
You're on the road. Who is not on the road? We start by seeing them, but you can tell us what is the expectation for today? And also, what do you do for Amiran?
In Amiran, I'm mainly concentrating with crop nutrition, positioning of the products, and basically offering support to the sales team and the other functions of Amiran. For this training, I'm hoping to get more strategies on how to position these products better, since we have very stiff competition out there. I believe you will give us maybe new ways, because we are used to the old models of positioning products. I think, or I hope you have new ways or new strategies on how we can do it for the current market for the 21st century.
Awesome. I think we have already, if you've seen the entire program, like we have a session on positioning. So I'm interested just to see the trainer for that day, what she's able to cover. But my hope is, as we continue with the training, let's try to make it as interactive. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask and also brainstorm around the whole issue. Let me hear from someone else. Josephat. Someone please talk to me. Are you all able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, Brian.
Hello.
Hi, Brian.
Good. How are you?
I'm very, very fine. So who are you? What do you do for Amiran? And what is the expectation?
Brian is Brian. Brian is me. The rest of the team know, but for your sake, Brian heads the agro marketing division, mainly involved in selling irrigation projects. Basically, we're looking at the establishment of orchard, open field irrigation, all those things. Also doing advisory on whether the project is viable or not. Also advisory on how to manage the crop in terms of nutrition, crop protection, all those combinations. Basically, we are the startup of project, right from irrigation infrastructure, growing the crop, nutrition, literally a whole growing phase of a project.
Okay.
Yeah,
so what's your expectation for this session?
My expectation will be, if you are able to break the ice on how to sell a project, and not a cheap project for that matter, I'll be very grateful. Where in the market, you're not the cheapest, you're offering a very competitive, price, and you're able to convince the client that you are the right solution provider, because we've got situations where client will always go for a cheaper option.
Yeah.
Then later on, just probably 2-3 years, they realize whatever they took is not the right one, and they want to come back for, you know, a bit of, you know, repair here and there. But I want a situation where from the beginning, one-on-one, I'm able to convince this client, look, I'm not cheap, but I'm the best option for you to go with. Yes, those are one of the biggest challenges. If we're able to break that ice, good.
Awesome. We are now almost 15 minutes past 9 a.m. I want to give one or two more opportunities to someone else. Hesbon, where is Hesbon? I've just seen you pop up and disappeared. Okay. Anyone else who wants to talk to me this morning as we prepare to start? Lillian, where are you? We have two of them, Lillian Ngeno and Lillian W. Yes, Lillian W. If you could see you.
Yeah, Lillian Warinda. Lillian Warinda, you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm always very far away. I'm in Nakuru. Everybody else knows me. I'm Lillian Warinda. I'm in charge of the managing commercial manager for greenhouse department and irrigation and product development. It's good to have this training. It's been a long time since Amiran realized that training actually improves a lot in an organization like Amiran. If you want to improve, you have to do a lot of training.
Yeah.
What I'm looking at is giving solution, because Amiran, we give solution as far as we selling products, but we give solutions.
Okay.
In my department, what I would expect is how can I increase my basket? With the products that I have, how can I increase? Because the products that I have are actually, like, I would say, so saturated in the market. But how can I improve on the products I have, and what else can I add in my basket?
Okay.
And how can I go about it? That is what I'm looking at.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lillian Waringe, right?
Warinda.
Oh, Warinda. All right. One more person, then we start. Anyone? Gilbert. Unmute yourself, please. Kindly unmute yourself so that we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, Gilbert. What do you do and what's the expectation?
My name is Gilbert Njuma. I'm a sales agronomist in Western. And my expectation is to improve on my marketing skills and in general PR. Yeah.
In general PR, that's what you've said?
Yes.
Awesome. Lillian Ngeno, I had seen you had unmuted.
Hi, I'm the sales agronomist.
I can see you the better.
I'm on the road.
Okay. All of you are on the road.
Yes. So I cover Nairobi Metropolitan, the sales section. And in this training, I'm really hoping that I'm going to develop more skills on how I can be better. I want to just gain better ways of chipping into the market of seeds, because every day you wake up, there's a new seed that has almost the same characteristics as you have. There's a new company that has the same product, and everybody wants to, get new products. So like how to just make sure that I always have a market share in my region and to never always miss out on anything. So that would be amazing to just get those extra skills that I need.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Lillian. Josephat, I can see you. Can I hear you now? Unmute yourself, please. Are you able to unmute yourself? All right, Billy, do you want to say something?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here at the shop. I handle walk-in clients. My expectation towards this meeting is that how to receive and maintain the clients that basically walk in, because we really get time to go out there and look for clients.
Okay.
Basically, yeah, so my main interest is to get more know-how on how to maintain the client base that usually walk in and use them to develop the more clients.
All right. Awesome. I believe I think we should be able to start because of time, and I believe we have come to the right place this morning, and for the next 3 weeks we have a power-packed package for all of you in terms of sales and marketing, as well as customer service. So I'm looking to be able to engage all of you today on Friday and the next 2 Tuesdays and 2 more Fridays. So, so I would want to see more of you as we continue. Those who are saying they are on the road, I hope between now and 10 a.m. you'll have arrived where you are going. And so that we are able to see you, to have a conversation with all of you. I know I've not introduced myself. My name is Purity Wajiro. I'm the director for Accurate Leadership and Management Consultants Limited. We are a HR consulting firm, however, with a huge leaning on training. And for me, training is a passion, and I'm among the few lucky people in the world to convert their passion into profits, you know. So I'm very happy to be able to join all of you this morning, share a lot of wisdom, experience from our team of experts. And this very morning we have Rosemary. Rosemary you're in the right hands with Rosemary, you know, in terms of leadership, in terms of communication, in terms of selling or marketing as well. So that is the program we have. Also, as we go on, you'll be able to meet other members of our team. But this is it. So I'll like to give a chance either to Jessica or Gerald just to welcome us or open up the meeting for us as we continue. I don't know if you guys do prayers when we start, but if you do, feel free to do a prayer. If you don't, you're well and good. We are able to start. So Jessica or Gerald.
Gerald, do you want to take this one or will I? I think maybe you should. My microphone is not very good. No? Okay. So you'll have to forgive me. I have to lean into my microphone. One of the reasons we wanted to do this training is because we recognize that career development and self-improvement was something that all Amaran employees across the board were passionate about and interested in. And we decided that for the field team, who have a fairly complex job, but ultimately it boils down to sales and marketing. For them, it would be one of the best and most effective teams to start with, because this is the team that earns the money for the company. It is from the sales that these teams, from seeds, from Chemfert, from greenhouse and irrigation, it is these teams that generate the income that pay all of our salaries, that pay for all of our products, and that keep this company running. And so it was high time to invest in the team that's on the ground and the ones that are feeding Amaran. And we wanted to invite everybody to submit their response to that TNA form so that this training could be tailored to your interests and to your desired areas of learning as much as possible. And we've gotten a very decent number of responses from the ChemFert team, and I think a few others from seeds and maybe one or two from greenhouse and irrigation. So I really hope that over the next 3 weeks, everybody who participates or who completed the TNA form gets out of it what they wanted to, and to really encourage everybody to ask questions and to be collaborative. This is an opportunity for all of us to improve. None of us is perfect, and all of us have areas that we can learn on. And I really hope that everybody gets something out of this training.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Also, a brief of how we are going to do these. We are able to do group discussions as we continue. So feel free, once we send you to groups, just go into the groups and do the discussions. At some point, we'll use videos as illustrations. Sometimes we'll have to ask questions and expect you to give us feedback. We also do polls as we continue. So let's just be open to just having a very learning and educative session. So over to you, Rosemary. This is the team from Amiran, Kenya. So over to you.
Thank you very much, Purity, and thank you to the team, and glad to meet all of you. I hope like Purity has said, you'll be able to hang around even for those who are on the road.
Yeah.
You have to get something, then you have to keep talking. And then you realize the challenge with online training is that if you're not engaged, then you get to lose in the process. So it becomes a personal challenge to make sure that you stay engaged and stay with us to the end. But I also realize we have a very diverse team. As much as we are all within the same field or within the same industry, we seem to handle things from a different perspective. There's somebody who is dealing with the distributor, somebody dealing with the customer who is walking in, somebody dealing with the other salespeople who are on the ground, or still maybe there could be the person who is a real salesperson dealing with the farmer on the ground. So we seem to have a very diverse group, and that also means that it becomes an initiative for everybody to be able to interpret whatever it is that we get to discuss, to be able to fit your personal situation in that perspective. And I like when Jessica says that it's important for you to have your personal development, because the other things are not very easy to develop. I hear a general complaint or a general concern in the sense that I seem to have the same products throughout out there. So it's the competition feels so stiff. Everybody has my kind of products. Everybody has my kind of maybe machinery or chemicals. Another person has a project, and this project probably is even cheaper than what I am offering. So we seem to not have much control in terms of products. The only much control you have is in terms of you and the approach that you get to give to present that product or to interact with the people that you are leading as your sales team. So in a nutshell, that's why personal development becomes important, because there's only so much you can do with a product. There's only so much you can do with whatever it is that you're selling, but there's so much more that you can do with you as a person to be able to deliver that product. And I guess that is why we are here today. My only hope is that as much as we can't see you, that you can get to hear you, because we don't turn this into a lecture. Don't turn this into a place where we are on a monologue and we don't know who is on the other side, or everybody is on the road or has gone to sleep. And we have been left here, the three of us, having a conversation among ourselves. So for the session of today, is basically where we start with the introduction before we dive into the details of sales. Today we get to talk about communication. We got to look at your personality and your level of emotional intelligence, because like you have said, it starts with you. Before you get into the details of how do I diversify my products, or how do I make this product work, it has to start with you. So how does your communication look like? How is your level of emotional intelligence? What's your personality, and how does it affect the way you do things? What's the personality of the people that you are leading or the people that you are selling to? And how does that impact how you communicate with them and how they react to the products that you get to sell to them? So that's what we get to talk about today. And so we start off with communication.
So obviously I would want to start with a question in terms of, when you talk about the word communication, what comes to mind? So feel free to put your comments on the chat box. But for those who said we would want to be able to communicate better or sell better, what did you have in mind in terms of communication? What does communication mean to you? Chris, I can see you. Chris Motune. Or you're just connecting. Let me wait for you to land. When you talk about the word communication, what comes to mind? What matters to you as far as communication is concerned, so that we don't get to tell you what the literature says. We get to tell you what is of importance to you. Anybody who wants to tell us something about communication? Even if you have to make a general definition of communication. Yes, thanks, Lillian. Lillian Nyendo, we share a second name. Thank you. It's a very rare one to find. So I'm happy to find somebody. Yes, it's a rare name to find. So it's good when I find my twin who shares my name. So Lillian says it's transmitting information about a product. I hear that. That's a very genuine and general definition of communication. Basically transmitting information. So when I transmit information, then I have communicated. So let me further that discussion from Lillian's perspective. If we say communication is transmitting information, and in this case for you as the person who is selling, it's transmitting information in terms of a product. So if you came to me and you told me you have this fertilizer, it has 50 grams of magnesium, 20 grams of calcium, and 100 grams of phosphorus. Lillian, have you communicated? Or somebody else would want to further that discussion? Because it is transmitting information. You have transmitted information. You're selling me fertilizer. You're telling me it has 50 grams of phosphorus, magnesium, zinc, and those other things that those chemicals have. Have you communicated in that perspective? Would that amount to communication? Lillian, what do you think, picking up from your conversation? Because you're transmitting information about a product. If you tell me that, have you communicated, or would you think that that is purely communication? Because you have passed information about a product. Like I said, this is not a lecture, so I'm pausing so that people can start talking. You can put a comment on the chat box, or you can unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we will have a very long 3 weeks. We don't talk. By the time we leave here, we should have all known each other, or at least seen each other. The person in Nairobi should have seen the person in Nakuru. The person in Nakuru should have seen the person in Kisumu. Yeah. And ask them how they are doing. That is the essence of training. It's also time to catch up. So David says that would be one way. Okay, why is it one way? Because communication needs feedback too. Thank you so much for that. Lillian had said something else. Yes, but in a more detailed manner, like what does the product do, or the superiority of the product? At least now we are making quite a bit of progress. Oh, Billy, I thought you're talking to us, so you're talking to your client on that side. Yes. So I like when Lillian says it needs to be a bit more detailed. You need to say something about what the product does or the superiority of that product. That makes sense. And David says it needs to be one way. So after you've told me about whatever it contains, I need to say something about it, like did I get it or not? So what I'm trying to demystify at this point is that communication is more than just transmitting information. Because many a times that is what we are told in school, or that is what we look at as communication. You'll always be, the point is, I told the person. But just telling the person might not be enough. You might need much more than just telling the person. So rightfully put, like Lillian says, when we ask about communication, we just say it is transmitting information. And very right, so that is what you are taught that communication is. But if you look at it from a selling perspective, or even if you look at it in terms of communication perspective, you always need to get much more details. And I think that's what the other person has said. You need to get much more details. So I always say, if you meet somebody in the morning and you ask them, how are you doing today? And they say, I'm fine. Is that information enough? Not really. If you want to get all the details about that person, you might go ahead and ask them more details, because I'm fine can mean very many things. The same way, if you just come and tell me this product has this kind of features, it might not be enough. So you want to always take your communication deeper, because it is not just an act of transmitting information. It is the process of creating shared understanding. And I like when the person said you need to get feedback, or it needs to stop being one way, because it is not supposed to be one way. If you just tell me and then we end at that point, you have transmitted information. But transmitting information is not enough. You want to ask yourself, have you created a shared understanding? After telling me all those things that are features in there, did I even understand? Did it even make sense to me? Because if it doesn't make sense to me, then you have still not communicated. So communication has only happened if the other person has understood it and it makes sense to them. If it has not made sense to them, then you have actually not communicated. So communication is not just transmitting information. It is not just telling somebody, this is what I do, or this is what we sell, this is what is good about this product. What if you tell me what is good about that product, but it is not what I need? You have still not communicated. Because it needs to speak to me as well as a person. So it only makes sense if it matches me. And I'm sure in the next several sessions, there'll be much more details in terms of how to sell a product. But if you look at it from a communication perspective, just telling me what you're selling, what is good about it, and why it is superior might actually not be the information that matters to me. If we are not having a shared understanding, it does not make sense. Then if you tell me this product will give me the best of the products that I need from my farm, and maybe that is not what I'm looking for, that information is still useless to me. So your information needs to be a shared understanding to me. We need to be on the same table. Even if it is superior, maybe I'm not looking for something superior actually. I could actually be looking for something simpler because my need is totally different. So it only makes sense if it is communicating to me as a person. And that is why it is not just transmitting information, it is getting to a place where you create a shared understanding, a point where the other person can actually see things from your perspective and it makes sense to that person. If it doesn't make sense to that person, then still it is not used. It doesn't matter how good that information is. If it doesn't make sense to the other person, then it does not really matter. That is why communication needs to happen at the 3 levels. When you're doing any form of communication, you need to create a relationship first. You need to share information before you get to the action. And I've heard a lot about people saying, how do I make people believe in this product because I think it is superior, even if it is expensive. I think it is this, even if it is just because it is the basic thing that starts with everything is that you need to build a relationship. And there's no selling if you don't have a relationship. There's no communication basically if you don't have a relationship. Even the very basic communication, even the very basic relationship has to happen. Even the person who is walking into a shop to buy something, you need to create a basic relationship with that person. What do I mean by creating a relationship? What we normally call building a rapport. Just having to break the ice. And I remember somebody mentioned about how do we break the ice. And I'm sure that will come up in other sessions that are coming up. How do we get to build rapport with people? How do we get to create that verbal communication with them? How do you break the ice? How do you get in touch with the person to a point where you're not just selling, you're actually creating a relationship? Because selling is a relationship. And when I talk about selling, it's not just about selling product, it's also selling to the people. If you're managing people who sell, you also need to be able to sell your goals to them. You need to be able to sell your targets to them. You need to sell the product to them so that they buy it and sell it to another person. So you have to really create a relationship with people before you communicate anything. Before you tell me about how superior your products are, before you tell me how better they are, before you tell me the kind of features they have, do we have a relationship? Because if you don't have a relationship, I'm not taking any communication from you. So any communication starts with building a relationship. You need to show interest of the other person. You need to be aware of the other person. Like I've said, you might come and think, because I'm farming watermelon, for example, all I'm looking for is something that is going to give me some very sweet product. But maybe that's not what I'm looking for. I might be dealing with a totally different problem. Unless you are aware of who I am, unless you have taken time to build a relationship with me, you are never getting to know what I'm really looking for. So you have to try and build a relationship with people. You need to build rapport, choose the right words to communicate with those people, show sensitivity, try to fit in their shoes and see what exactly they are looking for, create interest to really know people genuinely, who they are and what they are looking for, have an awareness of the other person, pick conversations with people that are beyond just selling to them. And that way you can be able to build a relationship with people. The moment you build a relationship with somebody, then communication becomes far much easier because you know the person and they know you have their interest at heart and you can be able to speak their language, if I may say so. If you're able to speak the other person's language, then you are on the same table and you're on the same page and you can actually be able to move together. Of course, building rapport also speaks to their physical behavior, active listening. Before you give me all the stories about what you're selling, can you first listen to my perspective? So that's the other thing. Listen to the person first. Get to hear all their stories. Get to hear where they're coming from. Then eventually you can be able to counter with the right words. Because you might think you have the right words, but they're the right words for the wrong person. Or you have the wrong words for the right person. So you always want to make sure that you have first totally understood the other person. You understand where they're coming from. You understand who they are. You understand what their challenges are. Then you can respond from a point of knowing. You can communicate from a point of knowing. So you want to always be able to communicate from a point of understanding, not from a point of what you think you have or what you have come carrying in your mind because you think that what you have is superior or what you have is what they need. It might need you to tweak a few things. It might need you to speak their language for you to be able to win them over. So of course, after building a relationship, like you've said, it's a 3-level, build a relationship, share the information, then you can get to action. When you're sharing the information, this is where the transmission now happens. This is where you're trying to create the shared understanding. So we have built a relationship. I understand who you are, what your challenges are, where you're coming from, what you could be looking for, because I can pick it from the conversation that you're having. I can now try to pass the information from a shared understanding because I know what you're looking for. I already have an idea of what could speak to your heart. Then at that point, I can actually be able to create that conversation. And of course, during that conversation, I'm also asking myself, are there any barriers that could happen here? Of course, dealing with people from all walks of life, you expect culture issues, but expect language issues. And remember, communication is not for you. Communication is for the other person. So this is where communication comes down to humbling you, to forgetting how good or how superior you think your product might be, or how good you might think you are in terms of knowing your products, to the point of how good are you to the other person. Because selling and communicating is about the other person. So it's not about you. So you have to always ask yourself, are you fitting in the other person's perspective? So that, are you fitting in their culture? Are you fitting in their language? Are you fitting in their needs? Are you fitting in their cost? Are you fitting in their own perspective that they are looking? If you're able to speak the other person's language, if you're able to understand them, then the communication will happen because you're speaking for the other person, not for you. So until the other person sees things from your perspective, you have still not communicated. And the easiest way to make the other person see things from your perspective is first understanding who they are so that you speak their language. So if the other person has not understood, then communication has failed. Communication has only happened when the other person has understood things from their perspective, and that perspective also makes sense to you as well. So you have a shared understanding. Whatever you are selling and whatever they need, you are on the same page. And that also means they can see the problem that you're solving. Like somebody says, Amiran tries to solve problems. You could actually be solving a problem that I don't think is a problem. You think it's a problem, but do I think it's a problem? Like it happens many times, you think you're helping me solve a problem, but ideally that problem might not be what I'm looking for. So you need to always ask yourself, are you solving the right problem? Leah says you can't hear us. So I'm not sure if it's a Leah problem or everybody's problem.
I can hear you. Let me just see.
Anybody else with an audio challenge?
Leah, are you able to mute and unmute yourself just to see if your mic will pick?
Yeah, because Florence says she can hear us. One more person to confirm so that I'm sure we are not talking to ourselves. Okay, I can see. Yeah, Jessica, thank you. Then I think we are good. Okay. Lillian,
I can hear you. I can hear you from Lillian.
Thank you.
Yeah, just wanted to do I wanted to ask a question, but I think you are too fast. At least you should be giving us space. Should be giving us space to ask.
So I will pause every 3 or 4 slides for you to say something. That's okay?
At least the first slide of the relationship and communication should have given us time to at least comment. What I wanted to say is give us some illustration and some examples. Like you said, communicating. I'm the one who's going to sell to the client. When I'm starting with basic, maybe I can start with how are you? How is your family? So that I'm creating that relationship between me and the client. The client will feel like, oh, so she's taking me as part of the family. She's asking me about how my family is. So she's so concerned about my family. She's not just come to sell to me a product. So give us some examples, some illustrations that will actually connect with what you're talking about.
Very true. Thank you so much, Lillian, for that. Now at least I know we are not alone. When we asked questions at the beginning, nobody spoke. So at this point, I'm not even sure whether I was talking to myself or I'm talking to somebody. So when you speak, at least I know I'm talking to somebody. I was actually going to bring that back as a group assignment. So it's good you're already picking up the work already. And because now I can tell you quite a number of people in the house, so we'll be able to pick up a group assignment after this one slide.
Okay.
Yeah. So the last item we said it's action, where we said you're picking it at 3 levels. You're building a relationship, you're sharing the information, and then you get to action. So of course, the action is where now you get to sell. You want to be able to not just have accurate information, but persuasive ideas. And I'm sure the next sessions are going to give us information in terms of how do we make sure that the ideas we sell are actually as persuasive as possible. And that will become very, very important. So at that point, I was actually going to ask Purity to give us group work where we can check based on the products that we sell, how can we apply the 3 levels of understanding? How do you build a relationship? How do you make sure that you have created shared understanding when sharing information? And how do you take action in terms of ideas? Purity, are you able to give us that?
Yes, I'm working on that. So we are going to break out into 5 groups. So you'll see a pop-up on your screen. Just make sure you click join the group. So and every group has about at least 8 people, actually 8 people because we are 40 of us. So all of us are going to be spread out into groups. Is what you're supposed to do clear?
Perhaps you can just repeat it again.
We repeat it once again. Rosemary?
Okay, let me share it on the screen.
Just share the slide again.
You're going to give us an example using the 3 levels of
understanding,
of creating understanding when selling. By that I mean, how do you create a relationship? Let me go back to that slide. How do you create a relationship? How do you make sure you have shared understanding when sharing information? And how do you get to action? By relationship, you said, how do you build rapport in the product that you're selling, in the information? How do you make sure you create a shared understanding and take care of the language, the culture, and any other barrier that might be there? And finally, how do you take action in terms of making sure that you're not just giving accurate information of the product, but you're also giving persuasive ideas to make sure that you sell that product. So you can pick a product based on what is easy to understand within the 8 people in that team, then try to break down if you're selling it to a client or you're selling it to the team. If you're normally managing a team, how can you break it down to the 3 levels to make sure that the other person actually gets the communication right in terms of that product?
Awesome. Is that clear? Yes, is that clear now? Someone please talk to us. Florence, you say yes.
From my side, it's very clear. From my side, it's very clear.
All right, awesome. So I'm just opening up the break rooms. So in case of anything, just ask for assistance. But all the rooms are open now. Please join the groups. Kindly join the group. Welcome back. I see all of us, I think all of us are back from the break rooms. So we'd like to hear your presentations from group 1 through to group 5. So we start with group 1. Group 1, we had Anne, Gerald, Jessica, Lillian, Paul, and Stephen.
You can just have one example from each team.
Yes.
You can pick one person who, one example that you thought was the best.
Room 1.
Do we have to go through the rooms each, or we can start with any room? Do we have to go in order?
Okay, let's start from whichever room. Who is this?
Room 4.
Melly. Which room are you in?
Room 4.
Awesome. Let's start with you guys.
So maybe I will be breaking the ice because I don't know exactly what you're supposed to present, but the discussion we've had has been directly based on the 3 stages that you've given us. Maybe someone can help me in mentioning the first stage, second, and then we go.
The first was relationship, the second information, and the third one was action.
So what we've agreed on, or what we've discussed, is that, of course, the information part is starts with greetings, knowing the well-being of the farmer, introducing yourself and the company, and then now moving to the second group where it is information. We've agreed, instead of just giving a free range information, we've agreed on doing a listening more. Of course, we are doing we are working, we are solving a farming issue. So our question that we would easily pose would be, how is farming? What challenges are you facing? Now, the answer that you will get from the farmer is what will determine what information you will share. For example, an information a question that came up is, for example, is maybe a farmer gives you a problem like I was not able to harvest last year because there was no enough rains. Now, that gives you a direction on what information you need to share. Now, Amiran Kenya has a solution on irrigation. So that is when you'll describe what kinds of irrigation that we can offer, what maybe go all the way to the prices. And then now the action will be now to tell the irrigation plans or programs that we have. Basically, that's what it has.
Very much, Melly, for that. I like the listening more parts because, like you said, if you don't understand the other person, and you'll be presenting solutions that are probably not appropriate for the other person. I like the question that you picked when you're creating, which is still even more of creating information, creating relationship than information. How is farming? That's a very general question, and you give the farmer room to go whichever direction they actually want to go. So you're not dictating their thoughts. You're giving them a free will to tell you what they think about, so that whatever direction they go, if they tell you they did harvest or and we had issues with the rain, then now you can be able to give them a solution that is tailored to their need, instead of just showing up and telling the people, this is the product, and my name is this, is the product, we are selling this product, is very good for that might be a very narrow approach. But that approach works pretty well, because when you ask somebody how is farming, you actually leave the floor open for you to sell whatever products that you have, and that is tailored to the need of that person. And they actually find you more helpful than you being pushy to try and just sell whatever you're trying to sell. So thank you very much, Team 4, for that.
Maybe. All right. Which team is ready to go next? Joseph Kimanzi. Okay, he has muted. Back to, let's go with group 2. Group 2, you want to give us your example?
Have disappeared. I was
or
in team
anyone, actually, at this point is anyone. If you're ready with your group findings, you just share.
Let me sorry, Rosemary. Okay. Let me share. I hope Florence was with me, the group Leah and the other person.
Okay.
Florence, I'll share, and then you can also reinforce. We are group 3.
Yes.
We first chose a product, tomato. We're selling tomato to, because mostly our seeds department sell tomatoes to agrovets. So we chose tomato as a product. And the first level, of course, we're taking it as, yes, Florence, we are taking it as a first approach to an agrovet that we've never sold to. So of course we'll introduce ourselves and know how the business is doing for the particular agrovet, how he's doing with the business, of course, and also get to know how his family is doing, creating that relationship in the first place, and also finding out how the weather is within the area he's selling to. So then from there, you definitely making him being closer to you, and also building a trust with him. Then you'll find out from, this is now the second level, you'll try to get information on what he has on the shelf and what kind of tomato varieties that he has and how they're doing within the market. Definitely will give you what he has in the shelf and how they're doing. In this case, then you'll be very sharp to actually bring in things like how are the prices, how is the quality of the ones that you have on the shelf. Then he will talk about them. Then the third level, then this is where you now start to act. Say, by the way, I have this particular tomato. I'll give an example of a type A that is it's actually more better. It has very good prices, and it has it's actually a good quality product that you can use. So that is how we thought about it. Florence can also reinforce a bit on it. Florence.
You covered pretty much what we talked about. Maybe what I can try to I would want to highlight, because it's something that I always face whenever we are out there in the field. I think we dwelt too much on the building rapport, knowing how is business, whether iko aje, how is this performing, and sometimes you find, you get you spend proportionately a lot more time in the general talk before you actually get into what brought you there. So it's something that I always feel you get tired any time that you're doing. You can take a lot of time talking, general stuff, and then you have very limited time, because it's typically what happened to us, limited time now to pass your information and to get to action.
All right.
Lawrence, for reminding us the balance also counts, because you don't want to build rapport and not say why you had come, unless
yes.
you have also structured. Sometimes, depending on who you are dealing with, you also need to structure the conversation so that I know this time I'm coming to just build rapport, then I'll come back next time to introduce more of the products that I'm selling. But back to what Lillian had shared, I also like the fact that when you're building rapport, you're actually able to pick information about your competitors as well. So that before you say, I know this competitor has this and this, you actually get it from the horse's mouth. Because when you ask about the products they are selling you, they'll have told you about the prices, the packaging, and all those things, who buys them. And in the process, they're also going to tell you, the challenge we have with this is 1, 2, 3. So again, that also can give you a line to be able to pick up to sell the product that fits, to fill in the gap that person is actually experiencing as they go along. So thank you very much also, Free, for that. So I think we are left with 2 or 3 more groups, and we don't have much time. I don't want to be rushed. The only reason I'm rushing is because we all came late.
Group 5 or room 5? We have room 1, 2, and 5.
Okay.
So I was in room 1, and the example that I gave is I had somebody complaining to me about how they couldn't find a decent supply of herbs and specific vegetables that they wanted. And admittedly, I already had an existing relationship with this person, so the relationship.
We need to lean more on your audio.
Yeah, my microphone is very bad.
Yeah.
The example that I gave was I had someone complaining to me about the lack of decent quality herbs and certain vegetables that they were interested in. And admittedly, I had an existing relationship with this person, so the relationship element is a bit cheated. But through discussion with her and her husband about what exactly it was that they were most concerned about, what it is that they were looking for, what they wanted to avoid, and challenges that they face, such as their pets, they've got young children, things like that. We found a solution that worked for them, which was the Plot 10 kit that Amaran sell, which they would be able to set up in the perfect location that suited them and their family, with a customized seed package from Chris Mutune that will satisfy exactly what they need, but without no more, no less. It's exactly like we've sort of catered it to exactly what their requirements are, to make sure that they're satisfied with what they're getting and that they don't feel that they're overpaying or being underserved.
So thank you so much, Jessica, for that. I think something else to pick from there is that when you have already created a relationship, chances are when the clients need something, they're going to come back to you. The person that they actually know, and you are the person they trust with the solution. So don't just sell it. Once you build that relationship, they're likely to come back to you. The other thing is also, like she's noted, the solution didn't just look at the Amiran side of it. It's also that you have children, you have pets, and all those things also matter to you. So I'm also giving you a solution that covers your family needs and your other needs as a family, so that eventually you also get to sort out all your challenges in one basket, but I still get to sell you the products that I'm actually selling. And that goes down to getting the information in terms of the challenges this person has and the kind of vision they have in terms of what's the best way that this would look like if it was to suit you, and I still get the solution that I'm looking for. So that way you're also able to tailor make a solution that sorts out that person's problems from a wholesome perspective, not just selling a product and walking away. Thank you so much, Jessica, for that.
Group 5 and group 2 now.
From group 5?
Yes.
Group 2.
Yeah. I think pretty much everything has been discussed because it looks like we are talking about the same things. What you discussed, especially based on, so we started with the relationship, and we agreed that meeting a client, you have to exchange, of course, there's the pleasantry, greetings, and knowing the well-being of the client. And this is now the time where you get to ask the client, so possibly what are the problems that you're facing, and something like this. So from the problems and the extent that you have, the rapport you build with the customer is when now you, because most of the times you find, like for the case of Amiran, you have so many products to present and you can't present them at the same time. So from the discussion you have with the client on the relationship and everything, you get to know what's happening to them at that particular moment. Then you come up with the product that you want to present the information about, and this now will come back to the action on and follow up on what you do next.
Thank you so much, Diana. The reason it's sounding like you're saying the same thing is because you did not pick a product or a specific example. So you gave us a general example. That's why it is sounding familiar to everybody. When I said an example, I wanted you to share a personal experience or a specific product that you have actually dealt with. That was group 5. So we have group is
group
missing.
2.
Yeah.
Yes, group 2, I'm here.
Thanks, Barira.
Barira, yeah.
Go ahead.
Can I go ahead?
Yes.
We faced a scenario whereby we have a client who feels like every time an Amiran person gets in, he's like, he has come to load more problem to him than give a solution. So even by saying hi or trying to compliment the environment around, he's like, what are you up to? And then when trying to introduce a product, he feels like you're just going there to dump the product and then we leave you struggling with the baggage. So actually I can say, and it's a scenario that is common actually. So the way our client behaved reflects on what some of us face some days in our business. And at the end of the day, we try to show all the ways we are going to support the client, but he still feels he's not very convinced. I can say that was our scenario.
Okay. So Barira, did you get a solution for that?
Sorry?
Did you get a solution to the fact that most of the clients feel like as Amiran, you dump products and disappear, or just bring them problems? How do we solve that?
Yeah, by showing the groundwork we are doing so that the product has a demand even before we approach the client to stock some. So we explained that.
Okay, thank you. So basically, what you're learning is that if you don't do the groundwork, that is why clients will end up feeling like your work is to dump products on them. Products that they cannot sell and products that you don't even come back to support to see that they actually get. So thank you, Barires, for being that vulnerable and honest enough that sometimes we don't do our groundwork and then we dump products on our customers and they feel burdened with us. I picked 2 stories from group 1. There was Lillian and somebody else, I think, from Meru. I would have wanted to hear those stories. I'm not remembering who the other person was. Could you remind me one?
In group 1, there was Lillian, Paul, and Stephen.
Yes, that must be Stephen and Lillian. Stephen, are you still with us? Must be Stephen Gaiti.
Yes, I am.
Yes, kindly share your example. I was in your group, so I can remember your examples. I just want us to share.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay. There was this customer in Meru, and kind of there was a, okay, my colleague had handled him earlier, but my colleague left, and it was kind of a stalemate. The project had kind of somehow stalled. So when I took over, I went over to the customer, and I realized their fears were just the items or the points you have you have listed. That is relationship, information, and action. And relationship is very much important because the customer feels secure if you have a good relationship. And also information, just like the word suggests, is information. There is something being formed in. And one of the things I also do in the
Your internet is breaking, assuming it's not me who has a problem.
I think so too.
Okay. Stephen, check your connection, it's breaking.
Try to learn to understand what is the customer's budget. That will make me not be about the bush and make sure that I'm it was a project. They felt like they were.
You can pause for a minute.
I hear there's a lot of background noise.
Yeah. Coming from Mante, I think.
Okay. Stephen, let's continue. You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. You can go back a
sorry
bit.
for
Lost
that.
you at
Sorry
some
for
point.
that. Yes. I was saying that the customer's fear was based on the unknown. He didn't know, he was not sure whether we would be able to, the project would be a success. And as somebody said, he was not sure whether it would come and down. Actually, what Barida has said is very true, because there is that emotion in some customers in Meru. And when I assured the customer that our products are okay, we will go with them the whole length. We shall run together with them, and we have a very able and very guaranteed customer support. Then they were able to accept that we move on with the project. And actually within 2 weeks, after meeting them, they were able to pay the 1.2 million for the drips irrigation. And when the work was done, the same customer called the office and said, Amiran has done an excellent job, because these were their problems. They were not sure whether we will deliver. So sometimes we may talk great of our products, but the customer may not be convinced until there is a reference case. If the neighbor there has had a bad experience with Amiran, even if you talk of good products and high quality products, it may not sell. So relationship is very much important. That's what I would say.
Thank you very much, Stephen. I thought that would be a very nice example to share. Because like you have said, if you're just gone there to tell them we have great products, we are a Miran, we normally deliver, without understanding the fears that had already been created by another person, you'd have still gotten to the same stalemate. So the fact that you took time to listen and understand what is the struggle here. So you got to understand their fears. They have had a bad experience with maybe the person who was there before. They have had something somewhere else, so that you addressed the fear first. And of course, after addressing the fear, you're able to give the information, you're able to understand their budget and give them that reassurance. And of course, now when it came to action, you also delivered, because that is also very important. But in this case, the fact that you started from the beginning of building a relationship and understanding the person before giving a solution, that was a big progress, and it was a big way of making sure that you actually get whatever it is that you wanted to get. The last one was from Lillian. I don't know if Lillian, I'm not remembering it's Lillian, which one?
Yeah, that was me.
Lillian? Oh, my namesake. Thanks. Yeah. What's your example?
All right, so my example was about an aggregate that was a bit dormant. It has all the capabilities of taking a lot of products, but they have become very, very dormant, taking just one packet or so. And when the first thing when I went there, it was a whole ranting session telling me that we failed them because at some point there is some product that was sold there, and then the germination was bag, which was a first. And after it was raised, it was not handled appropriately. The problem was not that the examination was bad, it was just the way that the issue was handled. So after it was raised, it was about alizungushwa sana. Mara naambiwa after it's the client who has done this or that. Like it's a very expensive product, and it was just pathetic examination. So it never had the issue with that because sometimes it happens, but the issue was how it was handled. So at this point, what happened is that he needed me to like recruit him back and convince him that we can always create a good rapport with him while still delivering good things. So I had to go through still trying to actually mend that bridge because he claims that he did not feel grasped well as a customer who has always been there buying Amiran products. So far, and I tried with first getting him promotional materials at least to actually, because actually in that shop there was no promotional material. So what I did, he has never even gotten like, we give dust coats to them. So I made sure that he always got them, if it's pens, if it's books, whatever he needed was available. And afterwards I realized that he now started making small progress. He's interested in knowing what we have that is new. And then he'll make like, it's not a lot, but for me it's a progress because now he started even talking things that others were not talking, that are unique products. So he was interested in just now like being recruited slowly. It's a process, but keeping is just making sure that his grasp as a customer, even when he asked for something, there was a confusion whereby he was taken to a different branch than him. So he always had that, he doesn't feel like he's accommodated well. But I had to make sure that now that is mended. It has been a process of just taking him back and reassuring him that we can always work together without always making sure that it's all about selling, but also as a good customer and business relationship.
Okay, thank you very much, Lillian. I also wanted us to hear that, and I think it's confirming what Barile has said. I think that Barile was very open that the moment we start dumping things on customers, or we don't handle the situation very well, then it becomes very much messed up, and eventually it becomes the other person's problem. Because Stephen and Lillian are now trying to correct what somebody else messed up because somebody did not build a relationship. So now they have to come back, build a relationship, and do a lot of work around information, try to understand what exactly is the problem here, so that I fix the problem instead of me just pushing a product and without trying to understand the underlying issue. So getting the information first, allowing a client to rant and say all their fears, at a better position to what do I address, so that the moment you address what was messed up, the moment you address the fears, now you can move on into the action stage. And that becomes very, very important. I think that helps us to summarize how you get to deal with those specific areas in terms of communication. And that makes it very, very important for us to understand. Of course, because of time, but I'm sure we'll have to extend because we also started pretty late. So we'll just summarize the communication bits, because normally we say it's not what you say, it is how you say it. You might have all the right information, even creating rapport can go bad depending on how you do it. So sometimes it's not what you say, it's actually how you get to say it. So you always also want to ask yourself, do you think you're saying the right things in the right way? Because you could have said, I greeted the client, asked them about their family, but how did you do it? Actually do it the right way, because if you didn't do it the right way, then obviously you end up with a problem. So what you're saying is that you have to remember that communication, like we say, using the 7-38-55% rule, the spoken words only accounts for 7%. You saying we are a Miran and we have this product, that's actually just a 7%. What counts the most is your tone of voice, how you get to present using your tone. Do you sound too passive? Do you sound too aggressive? Or do you have a balanced tone? And your body language as well. Body language actually takes the biggest chunk. So 55% just gets to talk about your body language. So it's always important, again, even as much as you're thinking, I communicate and I followed the 3 steps. You need to always have that at the back of your mind. How does it unfold in terms of the 3 areas? Does my body language communicate to this person the way I would want it to? Does my voice or my tone come out the way I would want it to? Does my spoken word also come out the way I would want it? So you always want to have that at the back of your mind as you think about communication. Have those 3 things at the back of your mind, that what you say says very little actually. The person is thinking about your voice, and sometimes you don't even think about it. You don't sit back and start thinking what was the tone that person used. It's almost automatic. Somebody sounded too dominating, it hits in your mind, this person is too pushy. The person is too passive and you can barely hear them. You can tell this person is not even confident in terms of the things this person is selling. So you need to have a voice that is confident enough that can be heard. Your body language also says a lot. So whatever you bring on the table in terms of your body language, how friendly do you look, how well are you dressed, how well do you keep your eye contact, are you able to listen actively, all those things count. So by the end of the day, it's not just what you say, it's also how you say it, and how you say it carries a lot of things as far as communication is concerned. And that brings us to the kind of communication we are expected to have, especially in sales, which we normally call assertive communication. I don't know if that's a word we have come across. Always when you're in sales, you're told you have to be assertive. What that means is that you can't be aggressive and you cannot afford to be passive. If you're passive, it means you're not standing up, you're not saying the things you're supposed to be saying. If you're aggressive, it means you're pushing way too hard. And I know sometimes back we used to think sales is about pushing things. So you have to be very aggressive. But with time, we have realized you actually don't need to be aggressive, but you have to be what we call assertive. So you need to get to a point where you can actually confidently say that you are assertive, and that becomes very, very important. So maybe just to highlight those styles of communication in just one slide. In terms of being assertive, so you want to ask yourself, when you look at it in terms of communication, where do you lie? And remember, you're saying we are all working towards being very assertive. Because when you look at that table, what you're trying to say, you need to have openness of communication. That means you need to be able to communicate, but you also need to have consideration for the other person. And that is what it means. And that's what we mean when we say you need to make sure that you have a shared understanding, that the other person feels heard, that you also get to listen and not just get to do the talking. So you want to ask yourself at the back of your mind, where do you lie? If you have very high openness for communication, if you think you always need to be heard, but you have very low consideration for other people, it means you are an aggressive person. What that means is that you're always pushing, you're always telling people, these are my products, this is how good they are, this is what they are going to do for you. You're just an aggressive communicator. You're always highly open to giving your communication, but you have very low consideration for others because you're not taking time to hear what the other person has. And like you have seen, that is not going to work very well for you. Most chances are you're not going to understand what the other person is struggling with. That is a likely issue you're likely to come across, especially in sales. These two at the lower side, I don't think you'd survive having them in sales. So I don't think they are an option if you're in sales. The passive aggressive, where you have low consideration for others and low openness for communication, it means you don't say what you want and you never let the other person also get what they want. That clearly, if you're in sales, that is not, I don't even think you would be recruited to be in sales if you're a passive aggressive. On the other side, you can have a passive person. This is likely to happen, where you have high consideration for others, but you have low openness of communication. What this means, like somebody said, you're always listening to the other person. You create rapport, you let them talk, they say all the things they need to say, but you never get a chance to say what brought you there. So I think this is what Florence said. After we have had a rapport, remember you need to share information and you need action. You need to still say what brought you there. You need to sell something. So you cannot afford to be passive again if you're in sales, because you're going to build a relationship. You are nice to people. People like you because you are friendly, you are nice, and you listen to their problems. But at the end of the day, are you selling them something? Because then that's a person you are, then it means you are a passive person. You have high consideration for others. You let them say all their problems. You are friendly. You bring them what they want, but you are not selling because you don't get a chance to open your communication as well. So we are all fighting to fit in the green perspective. In the green, it means you are creating peace for everybody. It means that you have high openness of communication for yourself. You're open to communicate to say what brought you there. And you also have high consideration for others. You are listening to their perspective. And this is what will help you go successfully within the 3 levels. That you can create a relationship, you can listen to what the other person has, you can get as much information that they have on the table, you have gotten their needs, you have understood their fears, you know their budgets, you know the conditions that they are in. And now you can come in with your openness and tell them, this is what I'm selling, and confidently talk about it. Then that means you're an assertive person. So what you're looking to achieve as far as sales is concerned is to be an assertive person. Have high openness of communication to confidently say what you're selling and what it is all about, but to also have high consideration for others, to understand where they're coming from, what are their needs, what are their fears, what are they looking at, because so that you can be able to meet that need or to fill in that gap. And that in that case, then you have you stop dumping, like what Baride has told us. You stop dumping things on people, but you take time to understand what they need so that you activate the market for them to be able to sell whatever it is that they want. And that is what assertiveness is all about. Lillian, you are my speed checker. Any comments from your end before as I go down with the assertiveness?
You know, we are two Lillian, so which Lillian?
Oh, Lillian, yeah.
Lillian
talking.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Okay. So let's talk about how to be assertive, because we've said we want to become assertive. Just a few pointers. Then I will take your comments on this based on your experiences so that we keep talking. Of course, like you said, your appearance comes first. And I know you don't go in a suit if you're going to walk into somebody's farm, but you need to look the part. Basically, be appropriate for the occasion, if I may put it that way. So how you appear also, and we know sometimes you look at somebody and you write them off before they even say a word. And I always say, we know we are beautiful internally, but people take a moment to know that we are beautiful internally. So you need to be able to show the external first so that the person can have the need to even address you. So if you show up in my farm in heels and a short skirt, I'll obviously be wondering whether you know even what I'm talking about. So you need to look the part. That's what I mean. If you're coming to a board meeting where you're discussing how you're going to finance that irrigation project, then you might as well show up in a suit because you need to look like you're going to handle my project. So in short, your appearance totally counts. You're addressing your eye contact. Are you able to keep contact with people? So how do you make sure that you look and sound confident? Because you sell confidence first before you get to sell anything else. And I know other sales skills are coming in the consecutive sessions, so I will not dwell so much on it now. Your voice, like you have said, you need to have a calm and clear voice. You cannot afford to be shouting. You can't afford to be too low to be heard. You don't need to be loud, but you need to be heard. That's actually the point. You don't need to be loud, but you need to be heard. So you need to have a voice. Remember, your voice is taking 38%. So that 38% needs to really matter. And your appearance is taking 55%. So you always want to have that at the back of your mind. Your appearance and your voice is already taking you a 93%. So those two things totally count. Of course, you need to know what you want. Like somebody says, as much as you're building rapport, at the back of your mind, you know what you're chasing. And people can already tell if you know what you want out of them. So if you come here and keep rambling and going around the bush and telling me about the 100 products that Amiran sells, I'll start thinking you don't know what you want. So you need to be very clear in your mind in terms of what you want so that even as you express it, I can tell that you know what you want. Sometimes people just buy your confidence and that becomes pretty important. Be realistic about your aim, but also know how to pick your battles wisely because you need to tell where you are losing and where you are actually getting something. Like Lillian has said, these are long journey. This person was already messed up. So you have to be realistic. This person is not going to buy from me tomorrow. This one, I have to decide the next 2 or 3 months, I'm just building a relationship. Then after that, I can be able to sell something. So you have to be that realistic sometimes to know that I'm not going to hit this one today. This one is not a battle that I want to pick today. I want to be able to build this so that eventually I can be able to sell something. Remember not to misdirect your frustration. I know you might be frustrated because Miran is just giving you the same products that everybody else has. I have not hit my targets. The company policy says I cannot sell in this other person's zone. And that is okay. And it is your problem and we understand. But you cannot afford to misdirect that frustration and pass it to your client because your client, whether it's a farmer or an agrovet or whoever else it is your ally, is the person who can help you make money. So don't pass your frustration from the company to your client. So you have to make the client your ally, not your enemy. Don't pass that frustration to them. Of course, sometimes you really need to practice what you're going to say before you even go, depending on what kind of client you're going to meet. If you're really going to sell this major project, you always want to have your figures right. You want to have your information right. And sometimes you might want to pass it through another person for them to hear you and see, is this pitch going to make sense to these people? Is it making sense? Is it something that can actually be so that the other person can actually tell you, I think you need to change a few things. Based on what we have had in this community, this might be what they are looking for. So sometimes, depending on what you're actually going to serve, you might want to pass that pitch to somebody else and get a bit of feedback. It is going to help you to be more assertive because you have had it from different perspectives. Respect, of course, is pretty important. Doesn't matter how much the client runs. You have to learn how to be polite. You have to learn how to be friendly. Like we have said, you can't afford to be rude. So assertiveness is not rude. Assertiveness is getting to say what you want politely and in a friendly way. And that also becomes very, very important. Of course, it's good to learn how to ask questions. That also speaks to your level of assertiveness. Because if you're passive, you don't get to ask questions. If you're aggressive, you think you know it all. So get to ask questions. That will help you determine what people are looking for, what are their solutions. Like you've already said, gather information, get as much information as you need. But also remember the big picture. Sometimes you, like we say, if you really want to win wars, you might want to be assertive. Pushiness is going to help you win some battles, but assertiveness is going to help you win wars. In short, what I mean, if you want a long-term relationship, if you want this person to keep working with you, if you want Amiran to still be known in that region, you want to be more assertive rather than being pushy. Because you can actually push and get a solution for now, but you have just won a battle. But you might look at the bigger picture and decide, let me handle this the best way possible. Let me be assertive. Let me build this relationship so that eventually I get to win a war. I can be assured of continuous business from this person. I can be assured of references from this person. That way I have won a war instead of just winning a battle. And I know sometimes you have a target to hit, so you're thinking, let me just hit this one. I'll deal with the consequences later. But it will still hit to catch up with you. If it doesn't catch up with you, it will catch up with the next person who will take up from you, like you have seen in the two cases. So you want to be in a position where you are thinking the future, not just the present. And that becomes very, very important. So you always want to ask yourself, how assertive do you think you are? Does your appearance say you know what you're talking about? Does your voice say you know what you're talking about? And is it friendly enough? Do you actually know what you want and can say it? Are you realistic in terms of how you handle things? Are you able to handle your frustrations? Be able to practice your pitch, be respectful, ask questions where you need to, and always remember the bigger picture because that becomes very, very important. So in short, what I'm trying to say is that as far as you're in sales, you need to always be assertive. You need to be able to communicate what you need to communicate, but you also need to have high respect of the other person's information because that other person's information is very, very important to help you be able to make the right decisions. So there is no questions or comments around that. For purposes of time, I would like us to just jump into personality. Purity, that's okay with you?
Yeah, definitely. Let's move on. Unless there are any questions.
Any questions or comments before we get to personality?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Yes, please.
Yes, Stephen.
Yes, my comment is the three points that we have discussed: relationship, information, and action. I believe they are chronological. They are supposed to follow that way. But this is just a caution to my fellow salespeople. I have been there also. You know, sometimes we start with action, then we go to information, then we start building relationship. So it should start with the relationship first, then information, then action. And I think that is what you are saying about aggressiveness. Aggressive people target the action, but it might be counterproductive. So we start with the relationship first. So that's my comment.
Thank you very much, Stephen, for that. Coming from a legend in this industry, I can totally say I'm in agreement. But even from even from training perspective, that is very true. So if you are aggressive, normally we start with the action because you just want to push and sell something. So you're just looking to hit a target, and like you're saying, you're looking to win a battle, and then you forget there's a whole war for you to win into the future. So it is better if you look at it chronologically, and that is what also makes you assertive because you give the other person a chance, and you're also giving yourself a chance. You give both of you a chance to have that relationship to the future, and that is normally very much more important as far as sales is concerned. So don't just look to hit an action. Try to build the relationship, get information, then get into the action of selling. When you take it in that chronological order, then you're actually a better person. And that's how actually assertiveness comes in. Anything else, like what Stephen has said, especially hitting the action, makes you an aggressive person, makes you a pushy person. He's just looking to hit a target and then move on to something else. Thank you very much for that. Any other comments? Okay, thank you. So I think now we can get to appreciate our personalities and what would make us sometimes very aggressive and forget to build the relationship. Understanding your personality becomes pretty important because sometimes, not actually sometimes, most of the times, our personalities affect how we approach situations. So when you have the understanding of who you are, or even the understanding of the other person, it might actually become easier for you to know, why do I miss out on relationship and hit the action first? Or why do I dwell too much on the relationship and get to the action too late? Because that is also a possibility. So you always, again, need to understand your personality so that you see who you are. So in that case, I get to introduce the 4 personalities right there. There are many forms of personalities. I just choose this one specifically for us understanding this session. So the 4 personalities get to ask us, where do we belong in terms of how outgoing are you or how reserved are you? In other language, how extroverted are you versus how introverted you are? Then how task-oriented are you versus how people-oriented are you? That's what I mean. Do you look at just getting the work done, or do you look at taking care of the person before the work gets done? That's basically what I mean by the 4 personalities. The first one right there, which is a D, means you're a dominant personality. If you're a dominant personality, what we mean is that you're outgoing, meaning you actually can have conversations with people, but you're also task-oriented. You look at getting work done. What that means is that you focus on getting work done, but you can have a conversation once in a while, but chances are that conversation is about work. So even when you get to that shop where you're going to sell something, normally after the greetings, the next thing would be about work. You rarely get to ask about families or the weather. Chances are you just go directly to work, and that's your natural orientation. That's mostly the dominant people. Then you have the I, or the influencing people. They are outgoing and people-oriented. So they are very extroverted and they care so much about people. So this is the kind of person when they get to wherever they are going to sell something, they will going to ask everything about your family, and they're also going to tell you everything about their family. So they're going to tell you about their babies, where they bought their dress, where their hair was made, what happened to the wife, who they dated 5 years ago. They're going to give you a lot of stories. So they're the most social people. So because they're outgoing and people-oriented. So these chances are is the kind of the person who is going to create a lot of relationship, but might miss out on the action. The D person naturally might actually just hit the action very fast before building a relationship, or he builds a relationship, a very shallow relationship. And you have the S person, or the steady person. This person is normally introverted and people-oriented. They don't talk much, but they care about people. So they can build a bit of a relationship with a bit of pushing. Doesn't come out so naturally. So this is kind of the steady person. They care about the other person, so they want to know how you're doing. They want to know a few things about your life, or how they can help you solve your problem, but they are not so outgoing, so they might not talk as much. So that also gives them a bit of limitation as far as the relationships are concerned. Then you have the blue person. The blue person is task-oriented and reserved, meaning they focus so much on getting the work done, they don't so much do the relationship bit. This probably the person might struggle a bit with sales because they want to hit the target. They are action-oriented, but they might not take a lot of time to build the relationship. So they are okay giving you data in terms of how this product is doing, what is very good about it, because they have all that data, but they might not be very good at building up the relationship. They're focusing on the work getting done. So again, depending on your natural orientation, you might need to remind yourself where to trigger the balance. And that becomes very, very important. So I want to describe those personalities very fast in less than 10 minutes. So normally the red personality, that is the person I said is dominant, outgoing, task-oriented. Dominant is red, outgoing, task-oriented. These people are normally very determined, like you say, they're very determined, they're very demanding. So that's why they focus on the action. They want to get things done now. They say, let's get it done now. If it sells, they want that sale hit now. So they want things moving very fast. They're very competitive. They want to hit the targets. Very strong-willed to hit their targets. Highly driven. You don't have to remind them which way to go, but they are not that patient. And what that tells you is that they will have a problem waiting to build a relationship with another person. So they're normally very fast. They want to push things very, very fast, and they want to get things done. So this could be you, or this could actually be your clients. When you're interacting with them, some of the things you realize is that they don't have time for a lot of stories. So they want you to get to business quickly. They want you to be very precise, or them, they are very precise, but they're also very, very confident. When they're coming to sell to you, they're very, very confident. Very time conscious, they don't want any time wasted. They have all the facts, or they are going to give you all the facts. They don't like a lot of details. They don't want too many details. They just want you, just tell me the specific things you want. They just want to focus on results and outcome. They just want to know, what am I selling today? How do I get this sold? And then I hit my target. And they get very irritated when you're vague. They get very irritated when you try to take control, even if you're just having a conversation. They get very irritated when you try to go off topic, the topic of what they are selling. And they get offended when you get personal, because they don't like somebody getting into their personal business. So these are the people we call the red personalities, very dominant, very competitive, very highly driven, focusing to get work done, focusing on results. They want it to get now. They talk, but they talk about work. They don't talk about personal things. Does that sound like you, or does it sound like somebody that you know? Just giving you a moment to think about it. Because at the end of it, you are going to tell us, where do you think you belong out of the 4? So if you don't belong there, there must be somebody you know that belongs there. People who are very, very competitive, very demanding, very determined. They have all the energy to push the world. But they want everything done now, and they're going to do whatever it takes to get it done, even if it means stepping on somebody. So I hope you have come across such people, and you have some in the house. They'll tell us. The next person we talked about is the yellow person. The yellow person, we said, is very outgoing and very people-oriented. They say, let's do it together. These are the most social people you're going to come across. Very, very highly social. Like I said, they're going to tell you everything about their life, and they're going to ask you everything about your life. So they're very expressive. They express themselves very easily. They are very informal. They are the people who are going to talk about anything and everything. They can have a meeting anytime. They can meet you over dinner. They can meet you over a drink. It doesn't matter. They're very, very informal, very, very sociable. They don't need to be introduced to you. They just need to show up, see you, and they start a conversation. They're very, very sociable. We say they're the life of the party. They're very dynamic. They keep life going. They bring all the energy, all the enthusiasm, all the laughter, and they're very dynamic. So they don't need to schedule their day so much. They just know, if it's today and I'm going to see somebody, even if something else comes up, I can reschedule and go to the other party or meet the other person I was going to meet. They might wake up in Nakuru today, and in the evening they're in Mombasa. They're that dynamic. They move around based on how the day flows. So they get their energy from people. That's why they say, let's do it together. So they work well with a team. They work well with a group. That's why they are the life of the party, because they drive with other people's energies. So if you're interacting with this kind of people, or if you're this kind of a person, chances are you prefer somebody who socializes. You want to deal with somebody who can socialize, somebody who can talk about social things of life, not just too much work. You want to deal with somebody, people who are enthusiastic and energetic. You're also very enthusiastic and energetic. You bring energy and enthusiasm to work. You love laughter and good humor and any goodness. So in any place you are, there is humor, there is laughter, there is a lot of good things happening. But you also like when people acknowledge what you do, or you like being acknowledged for what you do. So if you're a yellow person, acknowledgement is, you want to be told you look good today, you want to be told you hit nice targets yesterday. You like that. But you can't stand people who are impersonal. You can't stand people who are too detached. You can't stand people who are too work-oriented, that you have to meet in an office and sit down and talk about it, show up at 8 a.m. in a suit. That doesn't really work for you. The business-like world is not your thing. You like the social world, and you like to handle even business from a social perspective. So those are the yellow people. Does that sound like you? Does it sound like somebody you know? Very expressive, very informal, very sociable, the life of the party, very dynamic. What that means is that you're very good in building relationships, but you can easily take too long on relationships and forget to hit the targets. Then you have the blue people. The blue people normally say, let's do it right. I didn't notice there. They say, let's do it right. So for them, being right is so important. For them, going things right is very, very important. So they take time to get things going. They are deep thinkers. They think through things. They are thinking, if this is the kind of person that I'm dealing with, what is this person looking like? Let me analyze all our products. Let me see which product is going to fit there. Let me look at the weather in this region. Let me Google how many shops you have in this region. They are very deep thinkers. They analyze situations to the deepest core. So they're very, very analyzed. They're very detail focused. They look a lot into the details of things. They want to understand every aspect. Before they even meet you, before they pitch, they want to get all the details that they can. They analyze it using all the Excel formats that can be used to analyze. They are very formal. If it's 8 a.m., it's 8 a.m. in a suit, and we don't get again about that. Very, very organized. If it's a day, they know where their 8 a.m. starts and where the 5 p.m. stops. And that also means they don't want to waste a lot of time. If they are meeting you for 1 hour, it's 1 hour and they're done. And that is also how precise they are. Like we said, they are work-oriented and reserved. So they are work-oriented and reserved. This also tells you they struggle to build relationships, but they are focusing on the target as well. Maybe not as pushy as the Reds, but they'll take their time to analyze, but they're also focusing on the target more than the relationship. So they look so much into the details, or if they're a blue person, you're looking into the details a lot. You listen a lot, and you like when people also listen. You want to take time to make decisions. You are very formal. You don't want people getting into your personal life. Very factual. You want to sell facts. You're not the person who would lie about a product. You want to give them the facts as they are, and you explain things in a very logical way. For you, things have to make sense. This kind of person doesn't like people who are disorganized. They don't like it when don't like it when people are too emotional or very vague. Those things for them are very, very straightforward and very, very organized. Does that sound like you? A deep thinker, analyze situations so much, look for a lot of details, very formal, very focused, take time to make a decision or to get into action, and struggle a bit to build relationships. Then the last person is the green. Green, remember, is people-oriented, reserved, doesn't talk too much. They say, let's do it harmoniously. For them, they don't offend anybody. Everybody has to be happy. So they are always very relaxed, very calm, very quiet. They don't ruffle feathers with anybody. They don't push anybody. They don't want anybody to be unhappy. They're very caring. They're very encouraging. If business is not doing well, it's okay. We know things are going to get okay. They're very, very encouraging. They're very patient. You tell them to come next month, they will go home and wait until next month, then they're going to come. They're willing to support you in any way that they can be able to support you. They will understand. If there's no business, it's okay, I understand. This tells you again what they are going to struggle with. They can be very good friends. They're going to be able to build relationship because they don't ruffle feathers, but it is going to take them forever to get the action bit because they don't push at any point and they don't ruffle feathers with anybody. If you're this kind of person, when you're interacting with people, you're very friendly, you show genuine interest, and you want people to be friendly and to show genuine interest. You can be a bit informal. Things don't have to be very formal, 8 a.m. in a suit. You can be a bit informal. Ask open-ended questions because you always try to understand the other person. You're people-oriented, you care about people, and you're non-threatening because you don't like commotion, you don't like disagreements. What that also means is that you don't like people who are pushy, you don't like surprises, you don't like people who put you on the spot, you don't like people who dominate you, you don't like people who are abrupt, you don't like people who make decisions for you. In short, you like a calm, quiet world without disagreements and without fights. Of course, it's not an easy world to have, but naturally, that is what you're going to have. So are you a green person who likes harmonious things, cares about people, very patient, very encouraging, so much so that you care so much about other people, like you can forget to ask for what you want. In terms of communication style, you can easily be passive. You can let the other person just have their way and you never get to have your way. Mm-hmm. So what I mean by those 4 personalities is they help you, or they might decide how well you are able to navigate the 3 sessions into your communication of sales. You're the dominant person, you jump too fast to the action because you want to hit the target, you want the task, you want the action done. You talk very little, and if you talk, it's just talking to introduce the product because you want to sell the product. So you hit the action very fast. If you're a yellow person, outgoing, people-oriented, sociable, happy-go-lucky, you build relationships. And you can take so long to get into the target because you'll go for their parties, you're going to host them for dinners, you're going to give them all the stories you know about their personal life, but you might miss out on the target. You might take too long to hit the target. Again, that could be a downside. If you're the blue person, task-oriented and reserved, you take too much time to analyze situations. You take too much to you want to have it all right before you position that product. you might not have all that time. So you are going to get late to hit the action. And at the same time, because you are too reserved, you might spend time analyzing and forget to build the relationship as well. Then you have the green person who is steady, people-oriented and reserved. They also good at, they take care of other people too much. They care too much, they encourage too much, they are too patient. They are nice people, they build nice relationships. But again, they might take too long to get to the action point, or might not get to the action because they're trying to make sure everything works well for the other person without pushing their agenda in that direction. So as you pause there for a minute, you want to ask yourself, where do you think you belong? How does that affect how you approach situations from a sales perspective in terms of navigating through the three areas: building a relationship, collecting information, and then getting into the action point of things. So as we think, Purity is giving us a poll. We want to see how many reds do we have in the house? How many yellows do we have in the house? How many blues do we have in the house?
Yes, the poll is on your screen. So just select the one that you are.
Can I
We
say
run it for, sorry?
Can I say something before you send us those polls to mark?
Yes, please.
It depends. The four personalities are very good, but it depends with the kind of product you're selling. Because you might find a mixture of let's say, let me take an example of myself. I sell greenhouse structures and irrigation and plastic. I think Brian also has the same. The kind of clients that I myself meet are totally different. These are actually high-level professional clients, growers of flowers. So these are actually international clients. So you find it. I'll give an example. Like I'm selling greenhouse. For the client to make a decision for a particular project of, let's say, 10 hectares, it will really take him time. So I need to be patient. I need to actually calculate my moves very well. Because if I rush in and push and tell him, yeah, you have to do it, he's looking at his budget. He's looking at his market, because it's also I'm selling to him to grow flowers so that he's able to sell outside. So he's also looking at his budget and he's looking at his market. So it could be a mixture of, the personalities are very good, but it could be a mixture. I could have red, I could have blue, a bit of blue, I could have a bit of yellow, I could have a bit of green, depending with the product that I'm selling. So this is the challenge that I have for a comment. Thanks.
I think that's Lillian.
Yeah, Warinda.
Okay. Thanks, Lillian, for that, and thanks for bringing it out. But what you are trying to talk about here, whatever you are picking is not so much of personality, is much of the skills that you need to adapt to depending on the client that I'm dealing with. That if I'm dealing with this kind of a client, I might give them time to make a decision. That does not mean on a normal basis, I always give people time to do what you're looking when you're talking about the four personalities is your natural orientation, irrespective of who you could be dealing with. Think of it even outside work, and think of it as you as a person in your normal life, wherever else you could be apart from work. What is your normal natural orientation? That's what you're looking for. What that would mean is that when I meet this kind of a client, I have to remind myself, with this one, I need to be patient because of the situation that they are in. And in short, what I'm trying to say here, there's no personality that is better than the other. All it is trying to remind you is that I naturally fit better here. What means is that if I'm dealing with a client of a different nature, I need to remind myself to put in a bit of green, because on a normal day, I'm blue or red. That's what I'm trying to bring into the perspective here. But there's no one that fits totally. And if you listen to my explanation, there's no one that was perfect. Each had its shortcomings. Meaning you have to remind yourself to bring in what needs to be brought in to fit to the kind of client that you're actually dealing with. And that is the point that I'm trying to drive for. Lillian, are we together?
Yes, we are together, but I thought we were to pick the skills to help us. We are to pick the skills to help us sell.
Yes. And what you're trying to say is that your selling can sometimes be interfered by based on your natural orientation, which is your personality. So once you understand who you are, you get to ask yourself, what skills do I need to bring into perspective to fit into the clients that I'm dealing with?
Sawa sambamba.
Okay.
All right. The poll is still going on. So I think not many of us have responded. So just take a minute to, not even a minute, take a second to respond. Then we continue. The pop-up is on your screen. Rosemary, you're saying something?
I was saying if somebody else has a comment or question, they can actually pick it as we do the poll.
Yes.
You can also drop it at the chat box so that we save time.
Florence, you have something to say? Hi, Victoria.
Yes. I was just looking at these personalities. Have they been researched on, or these are just a build up by maybe? I'd love to know who came up with this idea, because I'm still in support with what question Lillian asked. I'm looking at it in such a way that from the 4 boxes, even looking at myself and maybe the others, you realize that fine, you're people oriented, but again, you're also I would say you have a bit of almost everything, right? As at now, we are supposed to choose one color of what we feel dominates, of what we feel dominates us, yeah, or how we feel we are. So I think I would really love to know maybe the origin of this, how this came up with. Well, yeah.
Thanks so much, Florence, for that. Maybe I would start by asking, have you ever done any personality test?
Yeah.
Which one?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. But it was not this one. The one I did one online, but it was not the one you just answer questions and then they give you a percentage, or they explain to you what your personality is like. Yes.
Okay. So that's the point I wanted to start by saying there are very many forms of personality testing. What matters is we use different tests based on what you are trying or the area that you're applying to. So I would say the simplest kind of test you would take is the temperament test, which says whether you are choleric, sanguine, phlegmatic, melancholic. Is that the one you did?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So that's actually what we call a temperament test. It's the basic, how would I put it? It forms the basis of personalities. Because it is the one that starts by telling you whether you are an introvert or an extrovert. So that's a very good starting, because by you doing that, it already tells you if you're an extrovert, you're either dominant or influencing. If you're an introvert, you're either compliant or steady. Then after from the temperament from the 4 temperaments, then other now personality tests have been built up on. This is just one of the many. The most detailed personality test you're going to come across is what you call the Briggs personality test. The 16 personalities that breaks down to very, very fine details of the kind of person that you are. So if you have interest, that would be the most detailed kind of testing that you do. This one, even if you go online, just check for DISC personality profiling, DISC, DISC personality profiling. This one is mostly used for coaching sessions, especially for career coaching or work-related coaching. Why? Because it's the only one that brings in the task orientation part. It's the point that helps us try and understand when you're at work, do you focus more on work getting done or more on making sure that people are okay? Well, that also brings into perspective, if I may move away a bit from sales, it is, are you more of a leader or are you more of a manager? So we also use it on leadership and management training, because if you're task-oriented, you're probably more of a manager. If you're people-oriented, you're probably more of a leader. What you're trying to say is that it doesn't make anyone better than the other. It means you need to remind yourself that naturally I orient towards work, so I'm more of a manager, or naturally I orient more towards leadership or people, which makes me a leader, and I need to learn how to create that balance. because a balance becomes very, very important. All we are trying to say is, once you understand what is more dominant about you, I like the word you used, dominant, meaning it doesn't mean you have zero in the other areas. You have one that is dominant, you have one that closely follows, and then after that, you have others that are very far, that don't really get close to you. So when that does, background noise. Thank you. So what that does is that it is just trying to remind you that somebody who is talking.
Rosemary, I have muted you, please. Rosemary, I've muted you, but sorry.
Rosemary.
Rosemary, I have muted you. Rosemary, I have muted you. Are you able to unmute yourself?
Oh yeah, thank you. Sorry, I thought it's happened for me, and I'm not sure what's just happened.
Mistake.
Yes, but I hope I got to pass the message. I want to say you'll have two that closely follows, mostly on one side, the introversion side or the extroversion side.
Yes.
Then after that, so with time, you can be able to ask yourself which one dominates more. And I can see now Florence catching up with me saying she feels she has both red and blue in equal measure. How do I pick one? So you still feel you would want to clarify it further, I'm sure we can be able to share with you a link. You can do a test. You can answer some questions. You can actually be able to do that. It's only that this session is too short for us to be able to give you the time to go through all the questions.
The test.
The test. So Purity can share with you a link where you can actually be able to answer the questions, all the questions, then it's going to give you a clearer perspective. But if you take time to really think through, you can be able to see which is your easier orientation. Sometimes also work pushes us towards one direction. If you actually naturally, without being pushed, you're probably a blue. But because the work you do requires you to push people around, you feel like you're a red as well. So that also happens. Lawrence, are we together before I go to Barira?
Yes, thanks, Purity. Thanks, Rosemary.
Thank you.
Barira, you wanted to say something and I can see your hands up. Barira? Okay, I hope he'll surface. I think he's the one who wanted to say something.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rosemary.
Yeah?
What I was trying to say, when it comes to these personalities, like myself, in my default situation, I'm in the green. I don't like much stress. But because of the call of duty, being a salesman and somebody who is in charge of a team of not even less than 10, I have to borrow a lot from the other three. So probably the input I like much here is how I try to adjust myself daily so that I can be that flexible. Because definitely when I'm trying to borrow from the other three, it takes a lot of my energy, and in the evening I'll be more tired than when I'm just at green. So probably I like to hear how more we adjust to this so that we don't get too much stress while going about our duties. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I like that perspective because it's a very common feeling for most people. And when you try to fit into another personality that does not come naturally for you, and I must agree, if you are a green, sales is not an easy job because you are generally if you are an introvert, sales is not your easy job because, like you said, your comfort place or your happy place is where you don't have to interact too much with people or have to deal with commotion every other moment. The extroverted side might handle the commotion and the interactions far much easier. It comes almost naturally for them. So of course, one thing you have to accept is that you took a job and of course you have to deliver. So what you have to make sure is that you try to balance. For example, like you're saying, when you come home, you're too tired. So when you want to make sure is that you still get your isolation time on your own, or what I call solitude time. What introverts need to re-energize is a lot of alone time. So what you want to make sure is that after you have interacted with people for so long, once you get back home or over the weekend, try to reduce interaction. make sure you get at least several hours on your own of solitude where you have your silence, where you just get time to put together your thoughts and just get to put your mind together. Because actually the major difference is that introverts re-energize in silence, extroverts re-energize from other people's energy. So for them, after getting tired, they want to go to a party. But the introverts, after getting tired, they want to go and sit down in silence and not get to hear any whatever noise around them. So what you have to ask yourself is, which area do you struggle with? The one that you can get somebody else to fill in for you. If you're leading a team, then make sure the people around you are more of your opposite, so that they can take a lot of the energy that you don't want to take. And then when you're off work, try to go back to your normal state so that you can re-energize. I hope that helps, Baride. You can let us know as I hear from Stephen, and we are running out of time, and we have emotional intelligence to look at. So Purity, you should be thinking whether we will continue or we are going to come back here another day. Stephen?
Yes, Rosemary, thank you for that analysis. Mine is, I need to say is that, yes, we may have dominant character traits or personalities, but work orientation sometimes make us to have adaptive characters. I have, this is my fourth job as a salesperson, and I can see my approach has been different depending with the clientele and the products. I once worked as a salesperson for spare parts for a nation employer, and there were no stories. You either bring money or you go home. So it was red. And the kind of people you are dealing with, they are over the counter there. They are very busy people, very busy outlets. So nothing about your family, how is your wife and children. It is, I'm selling this, I'm selling at this amount, this is the discount, that's all. So as Barida has said, and even Lillian, yes, we may have dominant traits, but the work exposure will make you adapt some other features. Like the products we are selling in the greenhouse and irrigation, these are not just products like just a one-off. This is something that you need really to understand the customer. It is not a hit and run thing. It's not a hit and run thing. It's something that you need to take time. So yes, I have voted I'm red, but you can be sure sometimes I'm compelled to be blue and yellow.
Yeah. Very true. Thank you so much for that, Stephen. And the other thing it also reminds you is, apart from understanding yourself, you also need to understand your customer. Can you be able to pick up your top customers and ask yourself, what are their personalities? Because like Stephen has said, if you are dealing with red people, you go there and start asking them about their family, you have irritated them from the word go. So they don't want to hear about your families, they just want to talk about what is the product in the market and then jump into the business itself. So apart from understanding yourself, you also want to understand the people around you. So you should be able to do a quick analysis of the people that you deal with and ask yourself, what is their dominant orientation, so that you can also speak their language. Remember, the idea today is to be able to speak the other person's language, so that if you're selling to a blue person, you know where to start. You must have all the facts, because they want all the facts put on the table and analyzed. If you're dealing with a red person, nothing personal. Let's talk about work. Let's get back down to business. If you're selling to a yellow person, let's first talk about the weekend. Let's meet over lunch and talk is over, and that's how their business starts. If you're dealing with a green person, they want a very harmonious situation. They want a lot of patience. They want a lot of understanding. So depending on the product that you're selling, depending on the person you are selling to, that is how your adapting is going to happen. So it's good to know who you are and then ask yourself, who am I dealing with, so that I can adapt to fit the other person's perspective and be able to make a sale based on who the other person is. I hope that gives us a better closure from that perspective. And I think we got our highest to our blues. Purity?
Yes, let me show the results again. Yes, the blues were the majority.
Yes. So with the majorities as blue and reds, that tells us that if you are to sell to a yellow person or to a green person, you have a lot of adapting to do, because they live in a totally different world. So you have to try and adapt to their world for you to be able to sell to them. But again, like you have said, as much as you have the dominating personality, you also have what you can call the adaptive one, just to fit into that situation for that moment. Then later, you can go back to your own cocoon and enjoy being the person that you actually are. So the essence of personality is not just to say this is the person I am. It is asking yourself, what are the areas that I need to intentionally put in? What are the skills that I intentionally need to borrow from the other personalities to fit in? And who am I dealing with, so that I can know how they operate, so that I can also be able to operate from their angle and be able to speak their language. That in essence is what we mean when we talk about personalities. Yurisi, are we able to borrow the 12 minutes to 11:30 to look at emotional intelligence?
What does the team think? Can we push it to 11:30?
Considering we started at 9:30.
I think it's okay to finish instead of leaving it hanging. It's okay. On my side, I think it's okay.
All right, let's finish by 11:30.
Yes, so I'll take it first. So the other item was on emotional intelligence. Maybe I could start by asking, what is emotional intelligence and does it matter in sales? Before I go into discussing what it is, so that in case we could summarize it here and now, we could as well go home happy. What is emotional intelligence and how does it matter, or why does it matter as far as sales is concerned? Anybody with their thoughts?
Yes, Victoria.
Yes. Emotional intelligence is basically understanding your emotions and how you're going to use them. In the sense that I can give an example. If you know you usually get annoyed very fast, and you're going to approach a customer, and this customer, again, you know that this customer also gets very emotional or very temperament in a conversation, you should be in charge of that situation, in the sense that you will have to calm down, hold on to your emotions, give them time, and then now come back and talk to them. Basically understanding your emotions and understanding your client's emotions and managing the situation at that time.
Very true. Thank you so much, Victoria, for that. That is just, you need to first understand your emotions, how they affect the people around you, and how they affect your work, how they affect your productivity, so that you're able to be in charge of that situation and get to know that in this case, I have to be the bigger person, or in this case, I have to be the mature person, so that I'm able to handle that situation very, very well. And that is very, very important as far as sales is concerned. So you always want to ask yourself, how in charge are you of your emotions? How are you able to take good care of them? How do you understand the other person as well? Because it's not also about it, it's also about the other person. Like he said, if you already know this other person also loses their temper very fast, you want to be the bigger person to accommodate them, let them rant, do the listening, and then see how to end it harmoniously for everybody to come to the same page. So something I picked from Florence, ability to understand, use, and manage your emotions. Very true. It's your ability to understand. You need to be able to understand your own emotions. How do you feel? How does this affect you? How does it affect other people? And then be able to manage that situation. And as Stephen says, managing your temperaments. Just basically knowing I'm angry, I'm sad, or I'm too happy for this situation, and I need to hold this situation and make sure that I am in charge. So realizing that we already understand what emotional intelligence is, I will just put a few pointers in terms of how to improve our level of emotional intelligence. Of course, the first thing we already said, you need to learn how to be assertive, communicate your opinions directly while respecting the other person. So just because you have emotional intelligence does not mean you can't say what you think. You can actually say something. You can still get to stand up for yourself, only that you are saying it as you respect the other person. You're able to respond instead of reacting to conflict. I think Victoria has said that pretty well. Instead of just responding when the other person is angry or just loses it in the process, instead of just responding or reacting, you try to respond. So focus your actions and words on the solution. Instead of getting to hit back with the words and then create a whole scenario, focus the whole situation towards, or all your actions and your words towards a solution perspective. It also means being an active listener. So you listen for clarity and not just to respond. So again, I think we have mentioned a lot about being a good listener. So you always want to ask yourself, are you listening to understand, or are you just listening so that you can hit back with a sale? Because if you listen to understand, you're going to get back to the person better. You're going to listen to respond to the need. You're going to respond to the gap. You're going to respond with a solution. And that becomes very, very important. But emotional intelligence is not just about emotions all around. It also has something to do with your level of motivation. Because if you're able to manage your emotions even when you don't feel like doing something, so you don't only do something because you feel like it or you're in a good mood, but you're motivated enough to set goals and stay resilient in face of those challenges. Because just because you have set good goals and you have nice selling skills does not mean life is going to be a smooth sail. You're still going to have barriers here and there. You're still going to have challenges here and there. So it is a matter of understanding that irrespective of all that, I need to maintain and keep pushing my self-motivation. So you set goals and stay resilient to push through those goals and those challenges for you to be able to hit the end. And also maintaining a positive attitude, your level of positivity matters. The fact that you can stay positive around negative situations, because sometimes you have very negative situations or negative areas that you have to really, in terms of people, targets have not been hit, the product is not moving. You have enough reasons sometimes to just wake up with negative energy, but you still look for the positive side of things. You still want to try and remain positive through that problem and be resilient enough to push through. But again, like you said, when you're interacting with people, you also want to be approachable and sociable, making use of your social skills and having a positive presence so that when you meet people, they can actually feel comfortable around you. They can feel comfortable having a conversation with you. You have positive presence. So you can easily influence people. People can be able to listen to you. People can count on you to solve issues. And that also becomes a good thing to have, especially when you're selling. Self-awareness, like somebody has mentioned, how aware are you of your emotions? How aware are you of how your emotions affect the people around you? Are you also able to pick other people's emotions and other people's body language? And you use it to your advantage. Because you can't look at the person you're talking to and realize they're angry, realize they're not convinced, realize they're not even buying into what you're saying, then you're still talking to yourself. So that's self-awareness of your emotions, but also of the other person's, so that you can know, how do I approach this situation? Depending on how this person looks like, how do I approach this situation so that you can actually keep moving forward? But being also able to take criticism, it's also part of your emotional intelligence. How well do you take criticism? Because sometimes people are going to react and they might actually have a point. They might actually be justified to say what they're saying. They might actually be justified to say, you guys dumped products here, you guys, your prices are not adding up, or you guys, your product did not meet the requirement that we wanted it to meet. And it is okay because they're entitled to it. So are you able to take that criticism and instead of reacting, instead of getting offended, instead of being defensive, try and check, how is it affecting you? How is it affecting performance? And then ask yourself, how do we resolve this constructively? Like we saw in terms when you're looking at the 3 levels of communication. If you're able to take critique well, if you're able to take the point that actually you are messed up, actually this one you did not do a good job, and then move away from being offended or being reactive or being defensive, and put the issues on the table and ask, now moving forward, how do we resolve this constructively? Because obviously it has affected the client, it has affected Amiran as an institution, it is affecting my performance. So moving forward, what do I do about it? So just that ability to take criticism well and make the best out of it. Emotional intelligence also has something to do with your empathy, your ability to relate with the other person at a human level. Again, that came up when you're talking about communication. Most of the time people think empathy, especially in our culture, is like it's a weakness to try too much to feel the other person, but actually it's a strength because it shows mutual respect. The fact that you can relate with the fact that I did not get to harvest anything last year, that I planted all this and nothing came out of it, that I sold and I did not make a profit or I went into a serious loss, just trying to empathize and fit into my shoes and see things from my perspective shows your level of emotional intelligence. Because it means you can comfortably relate with the other person's issues and then be able to deal with them from that angle. But also, most importantly, your ability to show leadership in all angles. And like we said, leadership is not a title. It is basically a skill that you also learn, that you set high standards for yourself. You decide this is the kind of work I want to do. This is how I want to be approaching my clients. This is how I want to be dealing with situations. And then you set an example for others to follow, especially if you have a team that you are leading, that they can actually look up to you, and without you saying a word, they are going to know this is how things are normally handled because they have seen you do it before. And that is what leadership is all about. And so what you realize with all the 3 items we've discussed today, they are so totally interrelated. How you communicate has something to do with your personality. And once you understand your personality and other people's personality, you get to learn how to communicate better. But communicating better and also being able to deal with people better has something to do with your level of emotional intelligence. So if you work on your level of emotional intelligence, your self-awareness and awareness of other people, and your willingness to act on the areas that you think you need to improve on, makes you a better person. Because overall, we say that people may forget what you said, but they might never forget how you made them feel. And that's the basis of emotional intelligence. You might say all the good things. You might say, I gave them the information they needed. I gave them a piece of my mind. That was actually the truth, but doesn't matter. They might forget everything you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. So if you give them a good experience, they will always remember that, irrespective of the words that you actually used. And that makes you an asset or a value to them as a salesperson. Thank you very much. So unless there's any questions, we have like 1 minute. So Purity, you can take it over.
All right. Thank you so much, Rosemary, for that. I will open the floor to any questions, if there are any, or your comments. How did you find the session? What do you think we can work on? As much as we have a feedback form, let me just share it right away. Anyone? What are your comments? What are your thoughts from today's session? Lillian?
Yeah, thank you guys for the training. It's actually very nice. And it's very simple. I like the way Rosemary is really explaining it and putting in our daily experience. The issue for me is the time. You know, we are people in the cells and you're supposed to be in the field.
Yeah.
So Amiran has to look at the timing. And then if you could do like we've done, it was from 9:30 to 11:30.
30, yeah.
If we could increase the time, because I believe you have more that you can share with us.
Okay.
If you can increase it more, it will really make a lot of big difference, because we need
increase to more to how many hours, or what's the suggestion?
Even if it is in the afternoon hours, because in the morning hours for us is very important. Morning hours, I would say it's normally inactive hours for any human being. You want to run and catch up. You see, like Victoria was on the road. Leah, I think, was also on the road. For them, or even myself, it's an active hour for us. You want to close up, maybe had promised up an appointment to close up issues. If it could be done in the afternoon, I hope Jessica is listening. I would really appreciate. Afternoon hours are a bit better.
All right. I think that's something you guys can discuss internally and get back to us just before Friday. Steven, I see your hand is up.
Yes, thank you for the great input. It's very wonderful. My question is, will the training go deeper to our products, now to the nitty-gritties of our products? That's, I would be very much interested in that. If we
what do you mean, get deeper into your products?
Now we are dealing on maybe the selling methods and all the personalities and all that. Are we going to get down to the selling points of our products and how we can be able to sell them? How you can be able to assist us how to sell better than we are already doing?
All right. Yes, definitely. I'm just wondering, you've not received the program, but if you've not received the program, let me just share it so that you know what is coming up in the coming days. If you could just hold on, I think that's something I'm able to share. But this was just a preliminary class, just to set us up in terms of who we are, first of all, as salespeople. Then we take a deep dive on on the actual business of selling. So just give me a second as I share the program. You guys have not seen the program? Just asking.
No, they haven't.
Okay, so let me just share it. So today was session 1. Are you able to see it on the chat box? You can download it either on your phone or your laptop.
Are you displaying it for them?
Oh, yeah, that is it. So you see, on Friday, we are coming back to discuss customer retention, influence, winning, and retention. Know your customer product knowledge. So 3, just scroll a bit, Rosemary. 3 will deal with managing customer database, handling difficult customers after sales service. The other week on Friday, we'll talk about product market penetration, creating strategic alliances, product positioning. I know someone had asked about positioning. Then the last Tuesday, there is upselling and cross-selling, negotiation and closing sales, work ethics, confidence, and attitude. Then the very last one will do mental health, interpersonal relations, and public relations, and how to handle workplace conflicts. Do you think now we will address all your needs based on the schedule that we have? Stephen or anyone else?
Well, I can see the program is quite detailed, though there is no direct reference to what I had asked, but I believe that in the course of our discussions, we will touch on our products.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, that was my concern.
All right. Then my point will be, especially when we invite you guys to participate or to give us examples that are related to your business. Because as from a very external point of view, maybe what we know about Amiran is very generic. What we see when you go to your website, or maybe when we see your lorries going around town, it's very, very like on a very basic level. So maybe as we move forward, let's just have a very candid conversation and get specific. When you say about, I know someone talked about irrigation systems, something. Let's use that as an example. How do we penetrate the market using an irrigation system or something like that? So for me, it's just to invite you all of us to have a conversation and a discussion as we go through the training. Because for us, the training is well modeled towards your needs, but we can't really address your needs if we exactly or precisely don't know what those needs are. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
All right. Anyone else?
It's okay. Purity, sorry, it's okay. The only thing I'm asking is, I've seen the sections now, the session, sorry. When we are continuing from tomorrow, because I didn't see any weeks or dates.
No, we are doing Tuesdays and Fridays. So the next session will be on Friday. Friday is 11th.
Yeah, this week. Okay.
Yes, this week. So every Tuesday and Friday until the week ending, just hold on, I see. The week ending date 25.
Okay.
So we have 8, 11, 15, 18, 22, and 25 as the dates.
Who's coordinating with you? He can actually give us a program. Who's within Amiran? Who's coordinating? I'm sorry.
Gerald and Jessica.
Okay, thanks. I'll coordinate with them then.
Yeah, so this breakdown, I can also add the dates again and share with you. Sorry for that. 8th June, 11th June. The next one should be 15th of June. Any other comments that we might not have addressed or you want us to consider moving forward? Vincent is saying the dates were shared on the email, but just in case someone did not see the specific email, June.
Email, and everyone has been invited to a Google Calendar invite for the next 3 weeks for this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Jessica, it's okay, but the timing is wrong. You see, like for us, for me, myself on Friday, I'm actually in Ravine. And the morning hours is when we actually active with the clients. If the timing could be changed, we'll really appreciate.
Okay, because when we set the timing, I had asked the heads of department to comment on it, and everybody said the times were fine. But if you want to change, that's no problem. We'll go with majority rules, and unfortunately we won't be able to suit everybody, but we'll go with whatever suits the majority of people.
So for the afternoon, what is working for us? Like at what time?
For myself, I think 2 o'clock Purity, because you see what? Morning hours are long hours, and Amiran, we actually active morning hours. So this section is only 2 hours.
Yes.
For every session is only 2 hours. So afternoon from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock is very okay. Because morning hours, we need to make sales. We have appointments with clients. So we should not also train and forget about our work. It's okay. And Jessica, I don't think if my boss actually shared with me, because even like we are speaking, we had another meeting with the CN group now for a particular order we're supposed to do. Now, I've just texted him, I told him I'm in a training. They said I didn't know about the training. So yeah, Mayal, I think maybe he forgot.
He may have forgotten because he's the one who gave me your name.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
No worries.
Okay. Just reconsider, Jessica. Just look at it.
Look, it's absolutely fine. It doesn't make a difference for me.
Okay.
I'm saying whoever, if you want to change it to 2 or 4 p.m., just comment it. I don't know, on the chat for this thing, or just send me a WhatsApp or something saying the time that works for you, and whichever is the most.
Okay.
Is 2 p.m. okay with everyone?
I can see Phineas had said 3 to 5. Can we do a short call just to get a feeling of what the other people feel who are not talking?
Okay.
Morning and afternoon, then we see first, get a general feeling. Then after that, we can agree on the hours.
Okay, yes, I think that's a good thing. Just
so
give me a
don't speak for everyone.
Yeah, that's good.
Timings. Timings. There we go. Just vote if you want it to remain morning or in the afternoon. Okay, 20 of us have responded. All right, I'll end the poll. I think majority are for the afternoon.
Okay, fine. So how about we leave it on the same days, but we move it till 2 till 4 p.m. Does that work for you guys?
Yeah, definitely it does.
Everybody else? Does that work for everybody else?
Yes, Jessica, for me, it's okay. Very okay. Thanks.
For me, is this okay?
Okay, 2 to 4 p.m. But the dates remain the same. Okay, I think that is it. Thank you so much for indulging us this morning. We look forward to receiving your feedback. Make sure if you've not given us feedback, just click on the link, a very short feedback form to help us build better programs for you moving forward. But other than that, enjoy your morning. It's not yet afternoon, and the rest of your day. God bless you all. See you on Friday.
See you.
Okay, thanks.
Bye. God bless.
Thank you. Bye-bye.